Oh my God, the Democrats just cannot stop humiliating themselves. So 4 Democrat Congress people went down to El Salvador to try to do another photo op stunt with the deported MS-13 gang member, but were hilariously denied by the El Salvadorian government. This humiliation comes after their request to use taxpayer money to fund this shtick was also denied. Make sure you guys watch this till the end because I know you're gonna love the embarrassment. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but we're gonna start immediately with Maxwell Frost, the leader of this little band of MS-13 sympathizers, getting asked directly by Fox News, why are you in El Salvador?
Why, Congressman, are you in El Salvador? You are there for an El Salvadorian man who was a resident illegally of Maryland. You're a congressman from Florida. Why are you in El Salvador?
Well, we're here because a man who had protected status in Maryland, a Maryland man, union member, worker with a citizen wife and beautiful children, was taken out of his state and out of the United States back over here without due process. And for us, we're here for a couple of reasons. Number one is because every person in our country deserves due process. And we want to make sure that we draw the line here at Kilmar Garcia.
This whole entire Democrat presupposition that if they don't stand up for this illegal MS-13 gang member who beats his wife, then Donald Trump is going to be deporting American citizens left and right, unobstructed. They keep hammering on this talking point that this guy did not receive due process. He's been seen by like 17 judges. He has a deportation order. He has literally gotten more due process than most regular American citizens will get. The Democrats are just so hell-bent on this tiny administrative error, one box that wasn't checked, and they're trying to blow the whole thing out of proportion like this is some constitutional crisis, like Americans are one step away from being deported in mass to El Salvador. And they're too stupid to understand that whatever message that they're trying to get across is completely lost in the fact that the person they're defending is the most unsympathetic, most criminally involved martyr they could have possibly picked. The reason that these Democrats are doing this is because they just need attention. They're like teenagers. They saw how much attention this garnered the first time when the Maryland senator went, and now they're so eager to be in the news, make it seem like they're fighting for something, that now this is becoming a mainstream Democrat Party tactic to go down to El Salvador, annoy the El Salvadorian government, who's probably perplexed that American politicians are coming down in droves, all for a publicity stunt to meet with a heinous criminal who is never coming back to the United States. I don't see how they think even their own constituents can look at them sticking up for this person and say, yeah, this politician is fighting for me. Now let's get into Maxwell talking to MSNBC, embarrassingly admitting that their request to meet with this gang member was denied by the El Salvadorian government.
What do you know? Is there any chance you'll be meeting with Abrego Garcia while you're there?
Well, we're actually about to do a press conference to speak a little bit about this, but we got word at the embassy that our request has been denied by the government here locally. They say it's because we're not here on an official capacity. This is part of the reason why Representative Robert Garcia and I sent a letter to Chairman Comer of the Oversight Committee asking for this to be an official CODEL. But we're not giving up. We're going to continue. We have more meetings scheduled for the rest of the day. But part of this, too, is making sure that we keep the conversation alive. We're building off of the trip of Senator Van Hollen, and we're not the first members here, and we're not going to be the last.
These clowns thought that they were going to get taxpayer money to go on a publicity stunt that would yield no benefit to anybody. They requested funding for this stunt and were hilariously and publicly denied because they were trying to make it an official diplomatic trip. But instead, these grifters were forced to use their own money to travel down to El Salvador and waste everybody's time instead. I absolutely love that the El Salvadorian government did this because they're saying, hey, this place is not about to get flooded by woke liberal Democrat politicians from America who think that they can just stroll into El Salvador and make these demands and cause turmoil in our country. I can't imagine there isn't some inner city black kid who didn't get some due process that they could be backing right now, that they could be fighting for. An actual homegrown American to where people could say, yeah, that's pretty relatable. Maybe you should fight for this guy's right to due process because eventually that might affect me. But no, they're picking an illegal immigrant with a horrible rap sheet. These people are shameless. And again, it's a whole bunch of theater kids doing performative stunts that make them feel like they're accomplishing something. So they can post a picture on social media and claim, this is what action looks like. Abrego Garcia is not coming back to America. The sooner they realize this, the sooner they can start saving their energy to put towards an actual battle worth having. Because at this point, they're just the party that won't stand for Laken Riley, won't stand for 13-year-old brain cancer survivors, won't join hands with the Republicans in cutting government spending, won't join hands with the Republicans in cutting government corruption, won't agree that a war in Ukraine and Russia should end, won't agree that men should stay the hell out of women's sports, won't agree that America deserves fair trade dealings with its partners, and that American citizens should receive some sort of benefit, not just other countries. It's just an embarrassing time to be a Democrat. Now, the Maryland senator who went on this trip was asked on Fox News who paid for it, and he has to shamefully admit that it was the taxpayer.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
Like, just imagine the arrogance required to think that what he did, which is just show up in El Salvador and have margaritas with an MS-13 gang member, is somehow an official trip that warrants taxpayer money. That's why I am glad that James Comer denied these 4 lunatic congressmen's request to use taxpayer funds to go engage in the same stunt again. Here he is talking about how ridiculous it was for them to even request that.
Well, I had 2 members of the House Oversight Committee, Garcia from California and Frost from Florida, and they sat there silent during the entire Biden investigation, during the entire investigation of Border Patrol and Mayorkas that we had in the Oversight Committee. If anything, they were obstructive. They weren't concerned. They showed no concern for the lack of our national security or the violation of our southern border security laws. But then this one person that the liberal media picked up on that was deported to El Salvador, they went crazy before it came out that he was actually an MS-13 gang member, and they wanted me to authorize funding at my committee's expense to send them down to El Salvador and meet with this person for a photo op and to have margaritas and, enjoy the sunny weather. And I obviously denied their request. We're not going to spend a penny of taxpayer dollars for liberal Democrats to continue their stunts to try to appease the radical left-wing base when the American people spoke loud and clear on Election Day. They want our southern border secured, and they want criminal illegals deported, and that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing.
I always say this to black Democrats that I talk to. I don't see how they could support the Democrat Party when the Democrat Party literally puts everyone else's struggle ahead of black people. Illegal immigrants, they get priority. Trans community, they get priority. The Democrats try to co-opt the black vote and the black energy and the black support behind all these other causes that have nothing to do with them, and then use the fear tactic that if they don't support this thing, well, black people are next up on the list. You gotta stand up to illegal MS-13 members getting deported, because if you don't, Trump's coming for you next. You gotta stand up for trans rights and men's rights to participate in women's sports, because if you don't, Trump's coming for black people's civil rights next. I truly don't believe how black people can't see through the facade by now. Black Democrats who are always screaming about reparations, they should be furious that 12 million illegals were brought into the country over the last 4 years, and every aspect of their life is paid for by the government. But you can't get your reparations. We got black kids in inner cities across the country who don't know how to read or write. But those same Democrat-run cities, their governments are more focused on being inclusive in school and making sure there's more English as a second language staff there to help these poor illegal migrant children. I'll never forget when a school in a black neighborhood in Chicago was closed down due to lack of funding, but then it was reopened to house migrants. I mean, you guys know me by this point. I don't believe that black people are oppressed in any way. But the Democrat message to black people is that they are oppressed. The country is systemically racist and unjust. But yet at every turn, they find a different marginalized group other than black people that actually get the priority for the fight, for the outrage. I always tell them, if you hear the Democrat message, all it is black people are dumb, too stupid to do it themselves, incapable, need the government in order to get ahead. There's no possible way that black individuals can rise to better their circumstances. They just don't believe it's possible. The Republicans do believe it's possible. They think black people are just as capable as everyone else. Shocker. They don't think you need any kind of special privilege, any kind of special advantage, or any kind of special assistance. They think you're smart, you're capable, and if you work hard, you will succeed. But Democrats are the ones who tell them there's no way they'll succeed in life unless the bar is substantially lowered and they get in through some hiring quota initiative. It's so disrespectful, and now they're picking a MS-13 gang member to support. But after being brutally denied by the El Salvadorian government, Maxwell Frost and his little band of heathens held a press conference talking about the results of their trip. Take a look.
The Supreme Court decision has come down to say you need to facilitate the return of this man back to the United States so he can go through due process, and the administration is saying, no, we're not going to do it. In fact, we just had a meeting earlier today with the embassy. We left that meeting with absolutely zero indication that this administration has is going to facilitate or wants to facilitate the return of Brego Garcia back to the United States so he can go through due process. But we got to be clear, this isn't just about him. This is also about every single person in the United States. The Constitution applies to all people in our country. Due process applies to all people in our country. It's one of the things that sets our country apart from other places across the entire world.
Again, their whole concept that this man hasn't received due process is just so inaccurate and dishonest. They're making it seem like this guy was just randomly selected, randomly targeted, grabbed off the street, thrown on a plane, and sent to a prison in El Salvador. How many judges, how many deportation orders, how many hearings does this guy need? I promise you, the American people do not feel as if our rights are in jeopardy just because this guy wasn't supposed to go to El Salvador but was accidentally sent to El Salvador. And then they also don't want to talk about the fact that the gang that he was in fear of, leading to the judge's order for him not to be returned to El Salvador, doesn't exist anymore. And then when Democrats are presented with that fact, they say, oh, well, argue it to a judge, due process. Like, no, we're not giving this level of scrutiny and detail to 15 million illegal immigrants. Them advocating for us to do so is them just simply saying, without having to say it, we believe illegal immigrants should all stay in the country. Donald Trump received a mandate to kick these people out. Sorry. We can't live in a system where every Democrat president can import 12 million illegal immigrants, and then when the Republicans are back in office, they can't deport any of them. That is a model for the American people to rise up and revolt. We will not stand for our country to be flooded with people from the third world who don't share our language, don't share our values, don't share our customs, and have zero intention of assimilating into society. And then the Democrats think they're making a great point when they say, well, who's gonna pick your crops for slave wages? I bet Americans aren't. Okay, so the Party of Compassion is now advocating for people to get paid slave wages, work long, laborious days, get mistreated because they have no recourse in fear of being deported. It sounds awfully similar to the same Democrat mindset that said, well, if we don't have these slaves, then who's gonna pick our cotton? They're so inhumane. It just truly baffles me how they still see themselves as the party of compassion, of morals, of decency. These people are weird. Like, I cannot believe that nobody in the Democrat Party is telling these people, we need to stop fawning over this illegal gang member. Sure, I get the sentiment that you want to look for a gotcha moment where you can show that Donald Trump is actually a lawless dictator. But you also have to weigh who the person is that you're defending, especially when the goal is to garner sympathy from the American public. When you pick a person like Brego Garcia, you run the high probability of people saying, yeah, I don't really care that he didn't get due process, get him out of here. Now, the last thing I'm gonna show you in this video is also another wildly radical woke Democrat congressman, Jamie Raskin, talking about they plan to retaliate against Republicans whenever they regain power. This is scary stuff. Watch.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us. But implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated, to use a word of the day, who facilitated authoritarianism in our country. Because that's an assault on our Constitution and on our people.
Yeah. See, that's the problem with falsely labeling your opposition as authoritarian, as Nazi, because then you've justified in your mind violent retaliation against them simply because they disagree with you. And that's what American politics is supposed to be about, civil discourse. But if the Democrat stance is to make their party so holy, so virtuous, that anybody who disagrees with them are vile, evil, Nazi fascists, then you can justify political violence and weaponizing the judicial system. Because in your mind, you've justified that these people are existential threats to the survival of the nation. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty fascist to me, right? That's the same rationale most dictators give when they jail their political opponents. Oh, this person's a traitor to the country, a threat to the country, a threat to our very way of life. It shows they have a true disdain for the people who think differently than them, and reaffirms my assumption that they actually want all these illegal immigrants to stay. Because if they're claiming we're authoritarian, so by definition, they want the exact opposite thing that we do, well, if we want the illegals to be deported, that only leaves reason to assume they want them to stay. I think it's truly sad that a major American political party has gone this route, but honestly, I hope they keep doing it, because we cannot let them get back in power if their opinion is that of Jamie Raskin's, that once they do get back into power, their main goal will be political retribution. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.